A lot of this week's news has been overshadowed a bit by AMD's huge announcements at the end of last week, but there's still some cool stuff we think you'd be interested in. Did you know Microcenter has some sick, and I do mean crazy sick deals on 12th gen i7s and AMD Ryzen 5s? We got new benchmark leaks for the i5-13400, yes, and a crazy keyboard, and of course everybody's favorite SteamDeck news. Stay tuned right now, right here on Robeytech. Okay, so we are no stranger when it comes to good deals here on Robeytech. In fact, we got at Robeytech Deals on Twitter, where if you are ever looking for good deals, you should absolutely follow it. I know Twitter is melting down. Thank you, Elon. But regardless, we got some really good stuff, and you should follow there if you want to know GPU availability and all that other stuff. But things that we like to mention is if anybody's building a new PC, and is worthy of mentioning here on the show, is that it looks like Microcenter is actually bundling CPUs with free motherboards. Now, while it's not brand new like 13th gen Intel or Ryzen 7000 series / AM5 CPUs, it's actually pretty solid options for anyone aiming for that entry level to mid-tier system. The first one is the Core i7-12700K, which is a great CPU. It's 12 core, 20 thread, running at 3.6 gigahertz, and it's being paired with an ASUS Z690 Plus Tough Wi-Fi motherboard, which is an incredible motherboard. We've used it a ton, and for all of that, it's $349.99, which is basically just the price of the CPU. So I can't believe they're giving you a free Z690 Tough Wi-Fi motherboard. So fine, you're not into blue, you want to do Team Red, that's okay. On the AMD side, you got the Ryzen 5 3600, and I know you're like, Roby, that's old. Hold on, listen to the price. Now this is a 6-core, 12 thread, running at 4.4 gigahertz, so it's a good CPU, and it's gonna be paired with a Gigabyte B450M Wi-Fi, and it only costs $130. So if you're planning out a build now, and you don't want to take the plunge on diving ahead with 13th gen or Ryzen 7000, and you want to save some cash to put towards other components, like a 12700 you could pair with a 4090 or 4080 if you wanted to, or even a 7900 XT or XTX, then you really honestly can't go wrong with these budget-friendly bonuses that Microcenter is essentially throwing out. Now, continuing with the topic of budget builds, we've got leaked benchmarks for one of my favorite, the i5-13400 non-K CPU. Now, I love the 12400, so I'm pretty excited about these benchmarks for the 13400. Now, this thing has 10 cores, and it runs with a base clock of 2.5 gigahertz and a boost clock of 4.6 gigahertz, and looks like it's gonna sell for roughly $200. Now, performance-wise, and this is the thing that's bonkers, it looks like it's gonna land somewhere around the Ryzen 5 7600X, which cost $100 more, so it's $300. And that's all, at least when it comes to multi-threaded performance. Now, in single-threaded tasks, if these performance benchmarks are meant to be believed, it looks like it falls slightly behind the 7600 hex, but just by the teensy of bits. Now, when the single-threaded performance is that close, and the multi-threaded performance is that much higher, then a lower-tiered option like this, a 13.4 for this price, may just be what Intel needs to get more people to jump over to 13th gen and maybe off of that AM4 thing that's kind of taking all the market share, which we talked about just a few weeks ago, which you could watch right here. Okay, so as I'm sure you are keenly aware by now, the new RTX 4090s they've just had the teensy of issues when it comes to their 16-pin cables. Sometimes, melting connections in brand new 4090 GPUs that are what, $1,600? I mean, everybody's got that kind of cash to burn. Well, as we reported last week, it looks like the culprit is actually NVIDIA's adapter that ships with many of the cards. Now, it seems like they being the actual cables, don't take too kindly to being bent at the top from left to right. Now, the third-party cable suppliers haven't actually had this issue because they've been built to a higher level of quality, which we would expect out of NVIDIA's cables, but point being is that they're a higher gauge wire, they're not soldered, and they seem to be doing just awesome. And in fact, we covered, if you look down in the description below, we actually have our cable we recommend, and you've seen that show up in multiple of our builds on the live stream channel. That being said, everyone with an RTX 4090 is taking no chances, of course, and snapping up any cable adapters they can get their hands on so they can protect their investment. And like I said, rightfully so. Now, this has led to shipping delays for companies like MODDIY, with up to 3 extra days of delay on shipping at the moment. While that may not seem like much of a delay, having to wait to use your brand new $1,600 or $2,000 GPU because you don't want to fry it like an egg isn't exactly fun. And you kind of want that like instant gratification of like, hey, I got my card and now I've got the cable to use it. It does go to show that a nice set of cable extensions and adapters not only make your system look sexy and cool, which honestly used to be like our trademark, builds look sexy and cool with Robey. Anyway, there's something there. But the point is, there's usually the other thing beyond just it looking sexy and cool is that they're usually built to a higher quality bar too. So if you're looking at getting a 4090 or 4080 or anything using that 16-pin connector, you might want to look into some of these cables. And like I said, we got one down in the description below. Now next up is something I'm really excited about. This is the Samsung announcing their new ultrawide that runs at 8K using DisplayPort 2.1. And I am excited for this, and I know many NVIDIA fans would like to be excited for this if it only supported DisplayPort 2.1. Now, while it was a part of the AMD presentation, which I got to hang out with and I got to play and take a look at and all that sort of stuff, and we've already talked about that. We've got videos of like the stream, which you can watch here, or even my thoughts, which you can watch as well right over here. We thought this would be interesting because given that this is a monitor that very clearly AMD has an advantage given they're using DisplayPort 2.1. Now the monitor we're talking about is the Odyssey Neo 9, which is capable of resolutions up to 7680 by 2160, which, that's not exactly true 8K, but it still is a first for ultrawides. Now, you might be saying, Robey, like 8K, like is it that much better? I got a chance to play some 8K at the Radeon event, and honestly, you can tell the difference, especially on a really, really big screen. Now, when it comes to using like DisplayPort 2.1 connections, these connections can run up to 900 Hz at 1440p, 480 Hz at 4K, and 165 Hz, at full 8K resolution, which is absolutely bonkers. And to be clear, for 8K at 165 Hz, we got nothing anywhere near that. Though, if that NVIDIA guy wanted to put it over to like the 7900 XTX and get Genshin Impact running at 8K at 165 Hz, there you go. I mean, they were doing 13K at 30, so I feel like maybe we got something here. Now, do keep in mind that it is specifically calling out, and this is the monitor, the use of DisplayPort 2.1, which NVIDIA opted not to use with their new RTX 4000 series, at least up to the 4090. I mean, it could be in the 4090 Ti or the 4090 Super or the 4080 Ti, who knows? But if you have DisplayPort 1.4 with the current 4000 series, you're actually going to see those refresh rates cut in half, unfortunately. Now, with the new AMD GPU adopting DisplayPort 2.1, gamers looking to hit like higher refresh rates could have an easier time with the new connection type and more DisplayPort 2.1 monitors that are supposed to be released starting early next year. Now, let's take a look at what's going on with everybody's favorite gaming device, the SteamDeck, this week. Now, remember when we reported like that whole Jsaux like drama where they released a statement that their design for their RGB Steam Deck had actually been leaked and compromised and resulting in pretty much the product being canceled? It was like a whole thing, and I loved how much you guys were like into the drama. You should watch it and you should check it out. Now, this week, they've got like a new product that they've been teasing, and no, it's not another RGB dock. It's a full replacement for the back panel of the device, and it's gonna be transparent. See, you can like finally live out like those retro transparent mobile device life dreams with the Steam Deck. Does anyone remember like the Nokia phones that were like transparent and you could like see through them? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Now, they were looking into developing a replacement for like the front panel, but the install process wasn't as simple as like undoing some screws and slapping on a new backplate, because like the buttons and triggers and the screen and like the guts of the entire system were actually all living kind of with the front panel. But they are looking to partner with someone to provide installation services should they move forward with a transparent faceplate replacement. But right now there's nothing like hard or concrete about that. However, I have to say this is really cool to see and lets you customize your Steam Deck with like a full panel replacement. Not just like skins and stickers all over the top of the original panel. But guys, it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Steam Deck land. Did you know Reddit users, which I mean, this always starts with like, I know NVIDIA's like Reddit users and they start to twitch. But anyway, Reddit users are reporting that some Steam Decks running the stable build after checking for updates end up in a boot loop if the Wi-Fi is actually off. Now, these users receive an error when checking for updates, and they basically went to like hard reset their device. Now, the first thing the Steam Deck does when you hard reset is actually check for updates. But if the Wi-Fi is off, then it can't connect to a server to run that check before completing the boot cycle, and therefore it shows an error message. It says, you know what, I can't update without an internet connection, and it reboots. And then it does it again, and again, And again, with no way to bypass this process or turn the Wi-Fi on because there's no physical switch on the device that lets you do that. The only way that people have like gotten it to work, short of like running the like full-on recovery process, is connecting to like a USB hub with like Ethernet, or possibly tethering your phone via a USB port. Just a word of caution for you, you SteamDeck users out there: don't turn off your Wi-Fi unless you absolutely have to, or unless you've seen that Valve has actually fixed this bug. Now lastly, a leak, and it's not really a leak anymore because this was actually confirmed by the manufacturer, but there's like this new prototype keyboard with interactive skins that were built on Unreal Engine 5. Now the video shows like koi fish swimming around on the surface of like the keyboard, which looked really cool. Now the keyboard will power itself and send data over its USB cable, and the keyboard has its own CPU and GPU. Now the specs of the components, whether that's like the screen or the CPU or the GPU, haven't really been confirmed yet, but Finalmouse did originally tease this earlier in January with like a series of video clips that like slowly scaled down to like the dimensions of the keyboard with just a date, December 17th, 2022, which is just like right around the corner. Now the keyboard will be mechanical. Finalmouse says that the prototype was actually a year old and it has come a long way since then. So like even more cool and awesome, prepared to be like blown away when we get to see stuff on December 17th. Now, the keycaps are transparent, since like covering them with like solid caps would kind of defeat the purpose of having like a monitor on your keyboard, but its skins can be swapped out from like the collection on SteamDeck. So collection on Steam, not SteamDeck. So it's very similar to like the desktop engine that's on Steam right now. So this is something we definitely want to keep our eye on as we get closer to December 17th, and I absolutely would love to get a chance to take a look at them. Anyway, guys, that is it for the news this week. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is Microcenter's free like motherboard bundles like enough to get you to buy a new system? And don't you wish like you had like a friendly Microcenter on every corner? I'd love to know that too. Are you trying to get a hold of like a 16-pin adapter cable for your RTX 4000 series GPU? Remember, check down in the comments, down in the description below for a link to one. And have you had any issues with your SteamDeck or boot looping? And I'd love to know what you thought about that keyboard. Now let us know all that down in the comments below. Now while you're down there, go ahead and tap and like that like and subscribe button down there and turn on notifications so you don't miss another awesome video like this. Also, be sure to check out our live streams over on YouTube at youtube.com/Robeytech Live or twitch.tv/Robeytech, where we stream every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Now, before you go, you know what? Why not head over to your favorite social media platform and give us a follow? We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and also don't forget to join us over at discord.gg/Robeytech, where you could potentially meet a friend and talk to a ton of other like-minded tech heads just like us. Literally tens of thousands of people there who would love to be your friend and talk about the things that you love, like this beautiful tech news or any of the other things that we cover here on the channel. Anyway, guys, that is it for us. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching, and we'll absolutely see you on the next one.